Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going to be talking about something pretty interesting, something that's, pretty relevant to a lot of people these days. Free education for international students.
Oh,
Should it be a thing? You know,
yeah.
is it a good idea? And we've got this really thought-provoking article that we're going to be looking at today called Should International Students Study for Free?
Okay.
And it really does go into, all sides of the argument. It talks about like the economics of it, how it affects, campus life and all that, even the ethics of it all, and even some counter arguments too.
Yeah.
So this will be a good one.
Yeah, it really does touch on a lot of important things. I mean, like globalization and
Mhm.
education policy and economic development and even social justice.
Yeah.
It's a big conversation to have.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, so let's jump into it. The article starts off by talking about this concept of brain gain,
Okay.
which is a pretty interesting term, right? Like it makes you think of like some kind of superpower or
Oh,
something.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. It does sound like that, doesn't it?
Yeah. So what exactly does brain gain mean?
Well, it's this idea that countries can basically, attract talent from all over the world by offering them educational opportunities.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a way of attracting bright minds instead of like losing their own homegrown talent to other countries,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So almost like a global magnet for talent.
Exactly.
And the article uses Germany as like a prime example.
Okay.
Apparently, they've seen a huge increase in the number of international students who are, looking for a really great education.
Oh, yeah, for sure. According to the German Academic Exchange Service, over 300,000 international students chose to study in Germany in 2020.
Wow.
That's huge. And that's
Yeah.
just 1 year.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of brains.
Exactly.
And speaking of benefits, economic benefits, the article actually mentions a study by Universities UK International
Okay.
that found that international students contribute something like 25 billion every year to the UK economy.
Yeah, it's a lot of pounds.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of pounds.
It really does highlight the economic impact.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder why more countries haven't really fully embraced this strategy
Yeah.
of attracting global talent because the benefits seem pretty tangible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you think about it, if countries invest in these students, they could potentially see like a surge in innovation and economic growth.
Yeah.
Right? That's like planting seeds that could turn into a whole forest of new businesses and ideas and, you know,
I like that analogy.
yeah. And the article even mentions that, get this, international students are 2.5 times more likely to become entrepreneurs than their, domestic counterparts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
clearly there's like this entrepreneurial spirit that we're maybe not fully tapping into.
Yeah, it suggests that they're not just coming for an education,
Mm.
They're driven to kind of use that knowledge to, maybe create something new, start businesses. Yeah. And that brings us to like another really interesting point, right? How having these international students on campus can actually create this much more diverse and, enriching environment for everyone.
Ah.
I'm picturing like lively debates in classrooms, different perspectives clashing, new friendships forming between people from all walks of life,
Yeah.
all corners of the world.
It's really about going beyond just learning about, different cultures and customs.
Mhm.
It's about developing a deeper understanding, tolerance, and really the ability to kind of navigate our increasingly interconnected world.
Yeah. It's a skill set.
It is.
It's super valuable.
In any field.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in today's job market,
Mm.
employers are looking for people who have that global mindset.
Oh, for sure.
It's not just a bonus anymore. It's like a must-have. Right?
Yeah.
And having that experience on a diverse campus can really give students a leg up.
Yeah, and the impact actually goes even beyond just the individual, right? Diverse campuses can actually become these catalysts for greater tolerance and understanding
Wow.
within society as a whole.
Yeah.
It kind of promotes this idea of global citizenship, which I think is something we really need more of.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the article also delves into the ethical side of things,
Okay.
especially the idea of education being a fundamental human right.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the UN has declared education to be a human right.
Right.
And this argument basically builds on that foundation, right? It's saying that access to quality education shouldn't be determined by your nationality or your financial background, you know? It's about creating a more equitable world where opportunities are available to everyone.
Yeah, it's about leveling the playing field
Exactly.
and making sure that everyone has the chance to reach their full potential no matter where they come from.
Exactly.
I like that.
And there are countries that are actually putting this into practice, you know.
Oh.
Finland, for example, they have this amazing education system that's known for not just being high quality, but also very accessible. So, you know, it could serve as a model for other countries.
Finland definitely prioritizes education. But of course, not everyone agrees with this whole idea of free education for international students.
Right.
The article does bring up some of the concerns that people have, like the financial burden on taxpayers, for example.
Yeah.
What do you make of that argument?
Well, it's definitely a valid concern,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to kind of look at the whole picture, you know? Research from the Center for Global Development indicates that for every dollar invested in education,
Right.
there's a return of about $10.
Wow.
So while there might be some upfront costs, you know, the long-term economic benefits can be pretty significant.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's more like an investment than just an expense, right?
Exactly.
It kind of ties back into that whole brain gain idea.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, some people also worry about overcrowding, like if you open the doors to more students, will that strain resources and maybe even lower the quality of education?
Right.
That's a valid concern too.
Right. It is, and that's where effective management comes in.
Huh?
The article actually points to countries like Germany and Norway, again, that have managed to maintain really high standards in their education systems, even with growing student populations. So it shows that it is possible to kind of, expand access without sacrificing quality.
It's about finding that balance.
It is.
Between being inclusive and upholding excellence in education.
Exactly.
And these countries are showing that it can be done.
Yeah.
That's pretty inspiring, right?
It is.
That they're able to make it work. So it seems like we've got a lot to unpack here, both the potential benefits and the challenges.
Definitely. It's complex.
Yeah.
Lots of moving parts.
It is. Well, let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and dive into some more of the nuances and implications of this whole idea.
Sounds good.
Stay with us.
All right. It's interesting how we often overlook the long-term advantages, when it comes to welcoming international students.
Yeah. We tend to focus on like the immediate stuff.
Right, exactly, like what happens right now. But there's this whole other angle that I think really highlights the long-term strategic benefits, and that's what happens after they graduate.
Oh, interesting.
Right,
So
so
not just attracting them during their studies, but what happens afterwards.
Exactly. So think about it this way. Many international students, after they've experienced, a welcoming and supportive environment, they actually end up choosing to stay and build their careers in those host countries.
So it's not just a temporary boost to the economy.
Right.
It's like building a lasting foundation of skilled professionals.
Exactly. And the article actually mentions a survey that was done in Canada,
Okay.
where a surprising 90% of international students said they wanted to stay in Canada after they graduate.
Wow.
90%.
That's a pretty remarkable retention rate.
That's huge. Yeah, I mean, just imagine the impact of that.
Yeah.
These graduates contributing their skills, their knowledge, their diverse perspectives to the workforce.
Yeah.
Driving innovation, economic growth,
Yeah.
for years to come. And it's not just a hypothetical thing either.
Right.
Research from the Migration Policy Institute actually suggests that almost half of STEM graduates in the U.S. are international students.
Wow.
That's a massive contribution to fields that are, crucial for technological advancement.
Yeah.
And for innovation as a whole.
So it's like countries are essentially investing in their own future by offering these opportunities.
Exactly. They're attracting and nurturing this global pool of talent that can really help them stay competitive in a world that's constantly changing.
Yeah. This whole concept of free education for international students, it's really like opening up a world of possibilities.
It is.
Not just for the students themselves, but for the host countries, for the future of global collaboration. I mean, it's a pretty exciting idea. But what can individuals actually do to help make this a reality?
That's a great question. The article actually suggests a few things. One of the most effective ways is to support those advocacy groups that are already out there, already working on this issue.
Okay.
They have the expertise, they have the network to really amplify the message and push for change.
So joining forces with those who are on the front line.
Exactly. There's strength in numbers. Another thing you can do is engage with policymakers directly, write to your representatives,
Yeah.
attend town halls, make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah, make sure they know this is important to you.
Exactly. And finally, don't underestimate the power of just raising awareness among your own circles.
Right.
Talk to your friends, share articles online, initiate conversations,
Yeah, just get people talking about it.
Exactly. The more people understand the benefits,
Mm-hmm.
the stronger that push for change will become.
Yeah, it's about shifting the narrative, right?
It is.
Moving away from this idea that it's a burden and towards recognizing it as an investment
Exactly.
in a brighter future for everyone.
Yes. And remember, this isn't just about, abstract ideals or anything. It's about creating a world where talent and potential aren't limited by borders.
Mhm.
It's about fostering this global community where knowledge is shared, where innovation thrives.
Now, that is a vision worth working towards.
It is.
A
Yeah.
world where opportunity isn't limited by where you happen to be born,
I agree.
where knowledge is this shared resource that benefits all of us.
It's a powerful concept.
It is. So we've talked about the economic upsides, the cultural enrichment, the ethical arguments. What do you think? What really stands out to you as like the most compelling reason to support this?
I think for me, it's that potential for, human connection and understanding
Yeah.
that comes with bringing together all these diverse minds.
It's recognizing that we all have something to learn from each other.
Exactly.
And by sharing that knowledge, sharing those experiences, we create a more, inclusive and innovative world.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Well, I think this is a good place to pause. We can continue this discussion in our next segment, maybe explore some of the counter-arguments, some of the potential challenges. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right, stay with us. It's like we're really starting to rethink how we view education as a whole.
Yeah.
We're moving away from this old idea of it being a privilege, something you have to earn or pay for,
It's about shifting from that mindset of scarcity to one of abundance, right? Like we need to stop seeing education as the zero-sum game,
Right?
where one country gains at the expense of another.
Yeah.
We should really embrace the idea that knowledge actually multiplies when it's shared.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the article highlights countries like Germany and Norway, Finland,
Yeah,
as these examples of places that are really investing in global talent.
they are.
They're showing that it's possible to make education more accessible and actually benefit from it.
Exactly.
So they're kind of leading the way.
They are. They're demonstrating that diversity, in thought, in culture, can actually be a real strength.
Mm-hmm.
And they're seeing those positive results, the economic growth,
Yeah.
the innovation, a more vibrant society.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Okay.
what's like the key takeaway? What's that one thought-provoking question that you want our listeners to kind of walk away with and really think about?
That's a good question. Well, if knowledge is power, right? Shouldn't we be empowering individuals from all corners of the globe? Shouldn't we be breaking down those barriers that prevent talented minds from reaching their full potential, regardless of where they were born or their financial situation?
It's a powerful question. And it really challenges us to think beyond, borders, our
Yeah.
own self-interest,
Mm-hmm.
and consider the collective good.
Yeah.
It reminds us that investing in education, no matter where it happens,
Mm-hmm.
is an investment in a better future for all of us.
It is.
And it reminds us that we all have a role to play in making this vision a reality, right?
You do.
Whether it's supporting those advocacy groups,
Yeah.
engaging with policymakers, or even just having these conversations with our friends and family. Every action, no matter how small,
Yeah.
contributes to creating a more equitable
Right.
and enlightened world.
I agree.
So to our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring this, this complex issue. Dive deeper into the research, connect with organizations that are fighting for educational equity, and let's work together to create a world where knowledge is truly a shared resource,
Yes.
a force for good that goes beyond borders and empowers future generations. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep those minds curious and those hearts open.